Like right now? Like right now, babe.
Yes.
Oh, hello and welcome to the Best Girls Podcast. I am one of your hosts, the one, the only, Ren Best Girl. Joining me today is my lovely, lovely co-host, the one, the only, JadeNovanis. How you doing, Jade?
I'm doing good. I apologize for not saying we're live like I usually do. I got made fun of last episode.
You didn't pull a Tazon day. That at least there's that.
At least I didn't pull. Do you realize in the streamer community, like in the streamer sphere, like that's legendary. The Tazon Day, and we're live. We're gonna play a bit of TF2, and then the audio just fucking kills itself. That is like, I want to achieve something even a fraction that stupid. Like just a fraction. Like I'll do whatever it takes. I just need to do something even remotely that fucking funny.
So, Jade,
Yes.
now that we have that lovely introduction out of the way,
Oh yeah, you're right. What are we talking about today?
so this is something that you and I feel perhaps quite passionate about, one might say.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we are going to be talking about the Pokemon Company and
Oh.
what
Oh God.
and let me change. Let me rephrase that. We're going to be talking about our ideal Pokemon game if there were to be one made or announced.
And why that pristine, perfect Pokemon game would just be Pokemon Black 3, right? Or Black and
Yes.
White 3.
Yes.
Exactly. All right. All right. I guess we'll get started then. So my lovely Ren Best Girl, assuming Game Freak, because we all know a Gen 5 remake is on the horizon. Like, even those who aren't necessarily in the know that, you know, a Gen 5 remake is very much so in the cards at the moment. Very possible, very plausible, likely for next year, unless we just skip the remake cycle entirely and go into a Gen, what would that be? Gen 10 now?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So yeah. So like, unless they just skipped the typical cycle, chances are we're getting Gen 5 remake, right?
Yes.
And so I kind of hit with the idea that like it would be so fucking funny if they made a Black and White 3 instead of doing like Black 1 remade, cuz no matter what they do, they're going to make everyone unhappy. Cuz like if they just remake Black and White 1, then it's going to be a fucking Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl situation again where like, well, what about all of the fixes and changes and all the good stuff from Black and White 2? What about the World Battle League or whatever the fuck it was called? I actually genuinely forgot the name. What about, X, Y, and Z? What about those towns that people really liked from Black and White 2? And I would agree. I would be like kind of confused, kind of angry. Not quite angry, but
Upset,
Uh, upsetty spaghetti. I.
disappointed.
How do I put this? I'm a grown woman, Ren. I I've learned to accept Pokemon is a well of disappointment.
I'll put that on Game Freak's tombstone. Pokemon is a well of disappointment.
Yes. I've come to terms. I played Sword and Shield. I've learned to accept the Pokemon is disappointments. Is just a constant series of disappointments with very few upsides. Those upsides effectively being Black and White 2, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Scarlet and Violet. And even then, that's with a massive asterisk around Scarlet and Violet.
The Pokemon Company makes me scarlet and violent.
God damn it. But yeah, so assuming the next Pokemon game is a Black and White Unova game, especially with all of the hints and stuff from the Scarvi DLC that just released about 2 weeks ago now. Unova is very clearly on the horizon. So what do you think? Let's start by talking what we think Game Freak's going to do, what we think we're going to actually get, and then we'll transition into what we would do or how we would do it, what we would want out of a new Unova game.
So, what I think they're going to be doing for the return to Unova, what I think Game Freak is going to do is, I think we're going to get, I don't think we're going to quite get the
Shining Diamond, Pearl. You don't think we're going to get the Diamond and Pearl remakes where they're like incredibly low effort?
I think we're going to get something a bar above that on the same caliber as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I think we're going to get something like that where there's some clear effort put into it, but it's just Unova, but it's not quite what people wanted.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. Like, if I'm being completely honest, Game Freak, I've gone on record multiple times saying I love Pokemon but hate Game Freak. Game Freak is bad for the Pokemon as for Pokemon video games as a brand, and they should honestly be released from that indefinitely. But they did give the Diamond and Pearl remakes to another studio. Inca or something, I believe, was the studio for that. And the Diamond and Pearl remakes were kind of a shit show. Not because they ran poorly, not because they looked bad. Because honestly, I'm like kind of in the minority where I actually kind of like Diamond and Pearl's art style. Or the remake, Shining... Well, what is it? It's not Shining Diamond because that's a fucking JoJo character.
Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl.
Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. Thank you. But yeah, like, I'm like kind of in the minority to where obviously the game does look very budget, right? It doesn't look as good as like anything else that uses a similar chibi, top-down art style. Think like Octopath or anything like that. But I feel like it has its own charm. Like, it's very much trying to capture that original feel of Diamond and Pearl with the overhead, the small chibi kind of emulating the sprites and all of that. So I'm fine with the art styles. Like, if they were to do that with Black and White's remake or sequel or whatever, I'd honestly be fine with that. Because I've also mentioned, like, my perfect Pokemon game is something kind of in the vein of the style that, like, Octopath has popularized, where it's like, yeah, the lighting is kind of crazy overdone mess in most of the Octopath games. But like in terms of like, it is very nicely done sprite work overlaid on 3D assets, kind of like a Mr. Game & Watch situation almost. And I think that would look great for a potential Pokemon game. Bring back like the animated sprites like from Black and White. But then keep the world with like kind of pixelated textures on 3D objects, sprites for all of the Pokemon and the characters. I you know, that now I'm getting into what I want, but in terms of what I think Game Freak is actually going to do is honestly, I think we're just going to get Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl again for Black and White one. My hopes of getting anything Black and White 2 related is null. I don't think they're going to do anything Black and White 2 related, but that's also part of the problem. Is, like I mentioned, no matter what they do, unless they do what we want them to, they're going to anger everybody. They do Black and White 1, people are going to get mad because it's going to be, especially if they do it in the vein of the Diamond and Pearl remakes, people are going to be mad because it's only going to be the Unova Pokemon. So if they, that's actually a good point that I just thought of. If they leave the games untouched, people are going to fucking hate it. Because that was the major complaint with the original Black and White, is you couldn't catch Pikachu on Route 2. Right? Like, the complaint was there were no Gens 1 through 4 Pokemon in Black and White 1 until post-game. It was all just, it was like a soft reboot of the franchise. Which I personally enjoyed, but I know the larger fan base as a whole didn't. And if they do Black and White 2, then it's going to be a little awkward just for the fact that, well, yes, Black and White 2 are the superior games, at least in my own opinion, based on gameplay and everything in the world and being more fleshed out overall. That story kind of needs the first game to work. If you get what I'm saying, Ren.
Huh?
In terms of a Black and White 2 remake.
Yes, Black and White 2, it works fine as its own game, but it is not its own game. It is a sequel. It is an extension of the world, and part of understanding the character and the world is understanding the events that happened prior.
Yeah.
Black and White 2 doesn't hit as hard. It doesn't have as much weight without the context of its predecessor.
Yeah. Without having played through Black and White 1 and going on that adventure with En, Sharon, Bianca, and kind of going through that, having that, you know, having Black and White 2 just doesn't hit at all. And I feel like that's also kind of not quite part of the problem, but like kind of part of Black and White, as Black and White and Black and White 2, just Gen 5 in terms of Pokemon games in general, is like kind of the black sheep of the entire Pokemon franchise, where it's, these are phenomenal games. Some of the best, if not the actual best Pokemon gameplay, storytelling, world design, everything. Like, these are phenomenal Pokemon games. But at the time, people fucking hated them. At least Black and White 1. By the time Black and White 2 came out, people started to understand. But people fucking hated Black and White 1. People hated that you couldn't get non-Univin Pokemon in the game. People hated that it felt like a reboot. People hated that there was a story, which is fucking weird because people are stupid. And then Black and White 2 came out and largely fixed most of the problems, but it was that weird situation of, it was a sequel of a game nobody liked, or at least at the time. It kind of has that Wind Waker syndrome, I feel Black and White has, where people fucking hated it when it came out, and now it's everyone's favorite 10 years later.
Yes. The Zelda effect,
Yes.
where every time a new game comes out, people appreciate the previous game much more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because immediately after Gen 5, we got the fucking shit show that was X and Y, and then the entire franchise just went downhill from there. But anyway, we're not talking about Sword and Shield today. But I guess that kind of moves us into what we, you know, well, first off, what do you think Game Freak's going to do? I think we're probably just going to get straight Black and White 1 remakes, no changes aside from maybe changing the regional decks to include some Pokemon from other regions. I think at most, if they make any changes at all, that will be the only change they make.
Again, I think we're going to get a, what you call it, situation. We are going to get the Unova decks. We are going to get one or two brand new Pokemon that they decide to introduce into this game for some fucking reason. And of course, they're gonna have Pikachu because everyone loves Pikachu. Can't not have Pikachu. Love that Pikachu. Give Pikachu his Pikachu voice lines, and that's it. We are gonna get the most bare ass black and white game we can get. We are not gonna get white forest, black city. We are just gonna get a generic nothing in that area instead. We are gonna get the most budget remake we can get.
So the Black and White remake, or the Diamond and Pearl remake. Gotcha.
I feel like we're gonna get a little bit more in art direction. I feel like they're gonna try to stylize it a little more, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. All right. So that sets where me and your like bar is in this situation.
I would honestly be happier if they didn't make a black and white remake.
Honestly, yeah. I just want to go back and replay them. I have them both downloaded to my DS, but God, I mean, I have the cartridges for my totally legitimate Nintendo 3DS.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I actually do. If the Nintendo Ninjas want to come get me, I can fucking show them. I have the cartridges. Anyway, I just like modding Pokemon games to make them harder. But yeah, that's kind of I think we're both on the same boat. We're not expecting anything, and we're probably still going to be disappointed. And that kind of leads us in to what do you want them to do? What would be our dream Unova remake? And I've been mulling this over for a few days, and I think I have some pretty fun ideas. Like just on like we'll start off here, just kind of going over an outline, and then we'll kind of go into like the minutia and come up with stuff and talk about like, you know, maybe new regional forms or things they might do with story or whatever. But like in terms of like an overall minutia of what we would want, go.
Okay. Now, are we splitting this into two categories? What we want out of a Unova remake or what we would want out of a Black and White 3?
So I'm wording it to be kind of like, well, but yes, kind of. Well, how would you? Yeah, let's word it more like that. To where like, what would you, for the perfect black and white game? Like, we're gonna be getting a game set in Unova real soon. Chances are it's gonna be a remake, but maybe they might surprise us with something better. You know, they might surprise us with Black and White 3. So, whatever you want it to be, what would be, if Game Freak were to announce it tomorrow, what would be like the thing that would actually get you excited?
Again, hmm, see there is a in my opinion there is a distinction, there is a separation. My ideal perfect Unova game, if we're talking about a new game, that's its own thing. If we're talking about the perfect Unova remake, that's also its own thing because I have different ideas for both. And
Well, let's hear them both then.
for the perfect Unova remake, sort of similar to what you're saying with like the Octopath style, it would be both games. It would not be Black and White 1 or Black and White 2. It would be both games, both titles, single installment.
Now,
And this is going to be controversial. Go ahead.
I just have one question in terms of that. How would Game Freak monetize that though? Because there's no way they're going to give you two Pokemon games for the price of one, right? So would they do like Pokemon Black and White as like one game, and then Pokemon Black and White 2 as like the alternate version that they would release at the same time, or how would they release that? Or maybe would they call it like Pokemon Gray or something?
They would call it, hmm, now they would call it Pokemon.
Gleaming Gray in reference to the ice from Kyurem.
I have no fucking clue what they'd call it, but I would honestly prefer. I think it would be fine if they just called it Pokemon Black and White.
Okay. And then
You
Black
have,
and White too.
yeah, it releases. It's pseudo releases as two titles. It releases as a $40 game,
They
which
wouldn't do that.
never gonna happen. $50 game.
It
It
would be a
releases.
$70 game, babe.
Jade, hush, hush. Let me finish. Released as a $50 game for Black and White 1. And then about 3, 4 months later, they release Black and White 2 in its entirety as DLC for about $30.
Okay. I could see that.
And here is where I'm gonna probably this is gonna probably gonna sound weird, but uh less I want it less to be Octopath, and I want it to be more in terms of art style, I want it to be more Vanillaware.
Okay. So like more hand drawn everything. Oh, mm, I was gonna say almost like yeah, almost like the Mystery Dungeon remake.
No, not like the Mystery Dungeon remake, because
I
that's all 3D.
I don't mean the 3D. If you've seen the backgrounds for, I'm talking specifically the backgrounds for like the town and stuff in the Mystery Dungeon remake. That one is very much like very hand drawn, like storybook look.
Oh, I I want it more painterly and less watercolory. I think that would be fun for a like, we haven't gotten enough of those. Please don't say anything like that. But 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 yes, perfect Unova remakes. It would be that painterly art style. It's still got that blend of 2D and 3D, but character sprites are still sprites. The in-game Pokemon, they are all still, like they are sprites. There's no 3D Pokemon. The only 3D that there really is are the towns, the environments, but everything else is just hand drawn. It would be Black and White would release as, one game. At the start, you have your an option. It'll ask, which would you prefer, black or white? Whatever you choose, that's what you're stuck with unless you restart or until you beat the game and you can optionally change it to the opposite version. And then down the line, however many months later, they release Black and White 2 as the same thing. And it includes all the features, includes the Battle Subway, includes the Pokemon Championship League, whatever it's called. It includes the Pokestar Studios. It includes everything, including how do you feel about the Dream Radar and all that weird experimental stuff? I would honestly prefer it that way. You're good. You're good. Um, my thoughts on it are yes. Black and White 2 is a very interesting case. Well, yes, you mentioned it that technically the Johto region was a sequel to the Kanto region, and we did get to see the lives and progression of the Cantonians a little bit. Black and White 2 was just all that. The story actually mattered more in this game. We got to see the progression of everyone and the world and how the events of Black and White changed that world. And so I think some might say that Black and White 2 is fleshed out enough. I think it honestly leaves room for more. I think because of that, because there's an attachment to these characters, because we've got to see them for more than just the single journey, there's room for them to grow even further. And I want very much to see that. And so you've mostly hit all the names that I want to say. So instead, I really should have wrote these down, but I had thought about some questions to ask you during this this here TED talk. And unfortunately, I can only remember like a handful. Which which key trainers, which important key trainers would you want to see return? Who do you think is important to return? Who do you personally just want to return? And who do you think doesn't need to come back? Mm, yeah. And if you pass over your save file, they would actually have your team from that game.
Like, it could literally just be a red situation where you just kind of go off on, you know, some random thing post game, and you run into Hilda and Hilbert, and that's just how it happened, you know?
Okay. I would expand upon that. I like that idea a lot. A lot, a lot. I think that works better for Hilda Hilbert than Nate and Rosa. I wouldn't mind just seeing Nate and Rosa either or both. They are fully fleshed out NPCs in this game.
Okay. So like make them like gym leaders or maybe even the champion or something.
Something along the lines of that, where they are there, they're part of this world, they have personality, and they're not just red, that original red facsimile where they're blank slate. They're, they're actually, fully fleshed out characters. I think that would be perfect for them. I think the red treatment works a little bit better for Hilda and Hilbert. I kind of would like to see them fleshed out more, but that was also kind of a big thing in Black and White too, was just like you said, you would get these memories of these characters, you'd get these flashbacks, you'd hear their old friends, they would talk about them like some fond memory. They kind of achieved that same red mythical status where they were a trainer, but nobody's really seen them since. And talks about them as their dear, dear friends.
Yeah. As for other trainers I would like to see return, Sharon and Bianca just kind of have to. Same with Hugh. Like, they are the rivals to Hilda Hilbert and all of them. Um, they have to return. Like, that's simple. That's easy. Um,
I propose this. You mentioned some very, very good places for Sharon and Bianca.
mm-hmm.
I propose this for Hugh.
Oh.
He is now he is now the head of the Plasma Humanities Society.
Ooh, so you make him the so what you're saying is you make Hugh, what do you call it? You make Hugh the leader of Team Plasma.
The original Team Plasma, the
The
Team
good.
Plasma
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. I like that a lot actually. That plays into his character arc very nicely. Okay. Okay. So we make Hugh Hugh is the leader of like the good Team Plasma. Now, I guess we'll get to that later, but is there anyone else that you would particularly want to return? So obviously the original trainers, the original rivals. I think Professor Juniper has to make a return, but I don't know in what facet, you know? Because, like, if Bianca becomes, like, the new professor, similar to God's Sword and Shield, I guess, having, like, the new, younger professor, what do we exactly do with Juniper? And how do we
We
make her the main villain?
no.
we can't we can't do that 2 Pokemon games in a row, huh?
We make her the professor of she is the leading professor in I don't know, worldly conducts. She is the DLC professor. DLCs that take place offshore in different regions. She's the
Oh,
professor who has oversight on those specifically. She's much more big picture than Bianca is. Bianca is the regional professor.
I have a really stupid idea that's very different from yours.
Oh,
What if we make Professor Juniper like the headmaster of the Blueberry Academy?
fuck. Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
she's the headmistress of the trainer school, effectively.
Yeah. 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 That works too well. It ties in too well.
It does. It's kind of perfect. I just thought about that on a dime, and I was like, fuck. All right. So we have the professor. We have them. I mean, You can't have a Pokemon Black and White game without the boy. What do we do with N?
And N is so difficult to skirt around, honestly.
I think we just make him the champion. I think we have him pop up throughout the game almost exactly like he did in Black and White 1, to where like he just kind of confronts you every now and again and wants to kind of test you without ever mentioning that he's the champion. And then you get to the champion room and he's there waiting for you, as if like this entire time he was testing you to see if like you held similar ideals to his dearest friend Hilda/Hilbert. And then when you finally beat him, you know, maybe some other story stuff happens similar to Black and White 1, where like you get to him and then like the evil team strikes or whatever. But then that's when he gifts you Reshiram/Zekrom, whichever one Hilda Hilbert had. Because that's at least the way I see it. At least for when it comes to Reshiram and Zekrom, in story, in universe, at the end of Black and White 2, Hilda and/or Hilbert has, in White, Hilda/Hilbert has Zekrom, and then Nate/Rosa have Reshiram and Kyurem. So flash forward 10 years for this potential Black and White 3. I think Hilda and Hilbert basically entrusts N, now that N is the champion, with their box legendary to you know, seek out a new trainer that truly embodies, you know, Zekrom and Reshiram's ideals and truth and all that stuff. The yin and yang, perfect equilibrium and stuff. And then maybe, at least to incorporate Kyurem and everything, that's how Nate and Rosa get involved with the story. To where they have Kyurem and Reshiram and/or Zekrom. And that's also going into something we're going to talk about a little bit later. But yeah, I think having N is like the big central like Cynthia style like champion figure who just kind of shows up, never mentions that they're the champion, and then lo and behold, you kind of find out at the end. I feel would be nice. What are your takes on what to do with the boy?
I don't know if I like him actively being the champion, honestly.
Really?
I mean, it has been well over a decade since I played the original Black and White back in high school, and I was pea brain. But remind me exactly what, at least in your interpretation, what were his ideals?
As of Black and White 1, his original kind of character arc was he was very much blinded by Getsus. Very much, I want Pokemon to be free. Trainers serve no purpose. Trainers shouldn't be keeping Pokemon. Like very, you know, PETA ideology, basically. But in a pure way, unlike Getsus, where he's just doing it for world domination. And then his story arc in the first game is him effectively coming around to accept that not all Pokemon trainers treat their Pokemon poorly. Not all Pokemon are treated poorly by humans. And sometimes that connection, that bond between human and trainer, that can sometimes bring forth something even more beautiful than just, you know, a Pokemon could potentially live their life just fine on their own, but some Pokemon may have an even better life with a nice trainer, with the perfect trainer, you know? And that's kind of his big realization at the end of the first game. Kind of coming to terms with that, because he sees it in you. and he sees it in himself to where, like, you know, that's why he keeps Kyurem not Kyurem, Zekrom Reshiram. That's why he kind of trains up his teams near the end, because he's starting to break free of Getsis's ideals effectively and come to his own truth. It's almost like that's the plot, or that's the themes of the story. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get to Black and White 2, and you don't see him very much. You just kind of see him at the end, basically, when he gives Nate or Rosa the legendary. And it's basically in a similar vein. It's, you embody the ideals that I have been striving for. You deserve this Pokemon, so that way you can further your own ideals. And then he kind of goes off on his own to kind of find himself again after that fact. And I feel like the perfect, like, culmination to his character would to become, like, the perfect, like, he would become the champion that's the embodiment of treating your Pokemon with the utmost respect, treating your Pokemon as family, as friends, as, you know, your trusted partner. And that kind of, at least in my eyes, comes full circle by him becoming not just the embodiment of, you know, what you could become. Well, yeah, where he kind of just becomes the embodiment of what is possible when you treat Pokemon correctly. And that apex is the champion. In a lot of ways, it's also what Alder represented in the first game as well. And I feel like that would be a nice character arc for him. I feel like coming full circle to him, because, like, in a lot of ways, he was technically, on your first playthrough of Black and White 1, he was technically the champion. You didn't fight Alder in Black and White 1 until repeat playthrough, or repeat,
He was never the champion, but he was the end boss, yes.
Yeah, he was the person you fought after the Elite Four. And, you know, I feel like bringing that full circle would kind of play nicely into his character arc, at the very least. But what are your thoughts?
I think you make a lot of good points. I'm still not quite sold on him being the champion. I see him 10 years from Black and White 2. I see him growing humble, growing okay with the idea that he is not going to, you know, usher in a new age of Pokemon and being the perfect ideal, the symbol of the perfect ideal. There are other trainers who embody that better, come to comfort with that. I think he might be better suited as the post game quest. Him and Hilda Hilbert. I think honestly Nate or Rosa could be the champion and sort of fast tracked them to becoming the champion, because kind of like you were saying, they sort of embody that ideal that he initially saw in himself, and eventually Hilda and Hilbert, they can be the champion. They can be the face that sort of shows the world that this is what Pokemon relationships should be. I do agree that I can see him as sort of like that Cynthia in Diamond and Pearl, or Alder in Black and White 2, where he's kind of like, he shows up every now and then, and he's very kind and caring and helpful. But I don't think the game should focus as heavily on him.
I don't think it should focus on him either. I just think, well, yes, I didn't quite think of adding him as, like, a potential, like, post-game character to have. I just feel like without making him the champion, there's not a lot else for him to do that would be relevant to the story. And I feel like a lot of people who would be going into a potential Black and White 3 would be going in kind of in a lot of ways
Blind.
for N, or in a lot of, well, yes, that too. But in a lot of ways, like, the fans of Black and White, 9 times out of 10, their favorite character's N, right? So, like, having him as that status symbol would be kind of perfect for him. But I could see it going either way. I just feel like if you relegate him to the post game, it kind of forces him to not be in the base game at all. It's kind of like Xyantha or whatever her name is from Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, where she was like everyone's favorite character from that game, but she was only in it for like an hour. All right.
I say there's they can't do that again. Not off the heels of Scarlet Violet. I was gonna say maybe they could do like a
They kill off
no. I was gonna say that, you have these multiple converging storylines that all sort of culminate once you beat the Elite Four, and then sort of lead into the real ending of the game, which all revolving around N and Tilda Hilbert. But Scarlet Violet just did that, and I don't know if they could pull that off twice.
I feel like we could kind of do both, right? You have N as the champion, and he just kind of periodically shows up. Like, I'm not talking like every other route. I'm talking like he shows up 2 or 3 times before you actually fight him, right? Kind of like Lance in Heart Gold Soul Silver. Like, Lance shows up at like what? Lake of Rage, and then the radio tower, and then you don't see him until you fight him in the E4. But then, so like, we make N the champion, and then once we beat him, that's what kind of grooves us into the post game, where he's kind of the quest giver for that. He's the one who's like, hey, you beat me. You're the first trainer to do that in a hot minute. I need your help kind of situation. He pulls you into like this kind of, my dearest friend has been missing. And it kind of turns into like this post-game story arc of trying to hunt him down and trying to like figuring out, it becomes like kind of a little mystery thing where kind of like Area Zero, where you're kind of trying to find him, and it leads to effectively the true ending with the legendaries and everything. Because like, I think that was perfect how they did it in Scarlet and Violet, to where you don't have to do the whole legendary bullshit before the Elite Four. Like, you go back to Diamond Pearl and all this stuff where they're like, 7th gym leader. All right, time to knock out all of the Giratina shit. And then now you have Giratina for the 8th gym leader, and then fuck off, I think saving those legendaries for the post game is kind of perfect. And then, so making, I guess that's going to kind of move us along. Well, no, there's still a couple more characters I want to talk about, but like, that'll kind of move to what we want the story to be. And I think that would be a perfect post game, kind of leading, almost in a way, converging all of the key players of Unova in one place to effectively play into what the main villain's hands are. Which, spoiler, as to what I'm planning at least, would be bringing back the Origin Dragon. Bringing all of the key players back to one place. Bringing Nate, Hilda, Hilbert, Rosa, Reshiram, Zekrom, Kyurem, all converging back on one place. and getting that origin dragon, that full fusion, that similar to like Ultra Necrozma, kind of just this perfect fusion of all three. That exists in the lore, right? So that perfect yin yang Pokemon, and that's kind of the story of the post game, or hell, you could even like pepper it in before the Elite Four, right? To where like maybe you do go on a little quest where everyone converges and then they all lose their legendaries and they all get, fused or whatever, and then you have to deal with it later. Kind of scenario. There's a bunch of ways to do it, but that's my general thought for that. But anyway, back to the characters.
We could sit here for actual hours talking about the full extent of the story.
Yes. As for the characters that we want to return, is there anyone else? Like, I'm fine if we don't talk about like the gym leaders and stuff. The gym leaders are whatever. I feel like in terms of important characters that we should at least mention, being Iris and what do you call it? Iris and Alder. But I also have one other character I would like to mention, just as like a little wink wink nudge nudge surprise surprise kind of mention. But anywho, is there anyone else you can think of? Or do you want to start talking about Alder and Iris?
I
Oh, fuck. And Colress. We still have to deal with Colress, too.
him too, yes.
And I guess Getsus, but
I don't think they need too much screen time or attention, but
I think Iris needs more than Alder does. I feel like Alder's gotten enough, but Iris kind of just being the champion. Oh, no? Who?
If you would let me talk.
I'm sorry.
Again, I don't think they need too much screen time. I don't think they need too much on them, but I would just like to see N's sisters again. Have them give them a little more screen time than like 2 lines of dialogue in either game.
Yeah. Having N's sisters back as kind of like, I don't know, what would they do though? Would they just be members of like Hugh's Team Plasma basically?
Yeah, more or less. They either that or they are the anti-villain team. They are part of the anti-villain team or whatever force.
I mean, I assume Team Plasma is the anti-villain team. I'm assuming Hugh.
They very well could be, yeah.
Because I'm assuming, especially based on how like Hugh is portrayed in Black and White too, I feel like Team Plasma in this potential Pokemon Black and White 3 would be basically a police force. Like, think PETA, but far more actually able to do anything, Like, they send their people out to fuck some shit up if they start hearing people are abusing Pokemon kind of thing,
If PETA were actually good.
PETA, if PETA was relevant. Anywho. We do not have any political views on PETA.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, but yes. Is there any other characters you can think of that you would like to return?
I would be fine if most of the gym leaders swapped out.
I would be fine if most of them were gone. Yes, I would agree. I feel like some of them we would need like, oh, their kids or something would be now replacing them or something like that. But I also wouldn't mind if some of them were still there. Like Drayden can go. Drayden's already an old man. Like, what the fuck is he gonna do at like the age of like 200? You know?
Drayden can go. I think Skyla and Elisa can go.
Who? I know who Skylo is. Who is the other
Elisa, the electric girl, the one
one? Oh,
who
Eliza. Yeah.
not a Z.
Yeah, but you do realize Eliza can be spelled with an S, right?
Anywho,
Um,
I I think Roxy could just be the new Elisa.
yes, I think one of the things that I would want them to do is mix up the order. So like some of the gym leaders would move to different cities, especially over 10 years. I feel like that's very plausible. Like move Roxy to Eliza's town. Move, Bryson to be the 8th gym leader maybe in Oplucid City.
How do you feel about you know what?
Berg can get the fuck out. I think I don't like Berg. I think out of the gym leaders from Black and White and Black and White 2, I think Roxy should definitely return. I think one of the trio should return. Cillian, Cress, and Chili. I think one of them should.
Which one?
Kind of depends. It depends on what, like, the other gym leaders that we keep. Because, like, I guess we could kind of keep any of them because Berg is definitely going.
Fair.
Yeah, we could kind of just keep any of them. Maybe not the water one. I personally would probably want to keep the grass one because that's the most iconic of the three, I feel.
I was gonna go with I was gonna go much more simple than that. He's the prettiest of the three.
I mean, fair. But yeah,
Um,
I feel like you have the other two kind of off doing their own thing. Like maybe you see them out on a random route or they have like a side quest or something for you. Or hell, maybe even make one of them an Elite Four member or something. That could be fun. But yeah,
they're
I
they're still running their restaurant.
yeah, or hell, just like in the more recent Pokemon games, make a bunch of restaurants all over the city and make them like the chefs
Ooh.
of those restaurants. Maybe make that like, how, remember Pokemon contests, how that was like kind of like a pseudo side quest Pokemon challenge similar to the gym battles. Maybe make that like, maybe make the restaurants like a special like side quest thing where like, it's like a man versus food scenario where like you have to go to all of the restaurants in the region, you get like some sort of special like reward or something, and they're like effectively the Elite Four of those places, and one of those
Oh
restaurants
my
is the gym.
oh my god. This is just a Yakuza this is a Yakuza 0 side quest. This is the cabaret clubs. This is the money management.
Yes.
This is we have to take on the sinister five of the restaurant crew.
Basically, yes. That would be such a fun side quest where it's just like, what is that show like? Not Hell's Kitchen, like Kitchen Nightmares or something, where like the guy comes in and like fixes everything and then leaves.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be such a fun side quest where like you like come in, like imagine you go to the first one and the first one's Cillian, right? And his is great. His is whatever. His is the gym. And then he's like, "Hey, I haven't heard from my brothers in a while. Go check on them at some point on your adventure." And you go to both of theirs and they're just like in shambles. And it becomes like this like almost like a Yakuza ass side quest where you're basically have to like fix their businesses. like rise them from nothing effectively, and kind of similar to they've done something similar in one of the Pokemon games before. Was it? It might have been Black City White Forest, actually, now that I think about it. To where, like, the more you did X thing, it, like, made that place, like, significantly nicer and better and more fleshed out. I think it was Black City White Forest in Black and White 2. I'm, like, 99% sure it was that. But, like, maybe incorporate something like that to where, like, maybe the more you visit each of these restaurants and, like, help them out with, like, you know, maybe fighting away the evil team that's, like, trying to hold them up, or doing some sort of, you know, collect berries for me or some sort of side quest. And then maybe over time these restaurants get better. I think that would be fun. Anyway, back to gym leaders.
Clay, gone. Son or grandson is now the head of the gym.
It would be kind of funny because you never played Legends Arceus, right?
I know that he's got his ancestor.
He's got like his ancestor there. It would be kind of funny if his son is basically just that character design again. Like, shot for shot. It's like a clone of that character. That would be kind of fun. Lenora? She's honestly my favorite gym leader from this gen. I love her. She's staying.
She can come back, yeah.
Especially since she wasn't in Black and White 2 until post-game. Berg, get rid of him. Eliza's like one of the more iconic gym leaders, but I think we drop her.
Yeah, I feel like, not to sound like mean, but she's had her time in the spotlight, literally. It's time for a new generation. That's kind of why I was saying, like, let Roxy take her place.
Yeah. Roxy replaces Eliza. That's fine. Who replaces Berg then?
You know what would be really fun? Make it the painter bug gym leader from X and Y.
You mean the camera girl?
Yeah. Wasn't she a gym leader?
Yeah. She was the first gym leader in X and Y. I don't think we should move gym leaders around, in my opinion. Like, I don't think we should just like, oh, this gym leader from Gen 1 comes back, because
I agree.
Because spoilers, we're going to be talking about that later.
Oh.
Remember, Black and White 2 has the world tournament thing where all of the gem leaders from every game comes back. So,
I mean, fair enough, but I think I think it would be fitting for at least one gym leader to do that. That, you know, they were the gym leader in their region for a while. They went out traveling out and abroad, and they found a new home here in Unova, and they rose to the rank of gym leader here as well.
I think I'm gonna pitch two things.
I feel like that is as much shit as the America as a region gets shit on for plenty of valid reason, but I think if we're, you know, one, it's a 10-year time gap. Two, that sort of embodies the quote unquote American spirit, and, you know, but it's just America. I think that would be fitting.
Oh no, I agree with you. I think the gym. I'm going to pitch two ideas. One of which agrees with you, the other one doesn't.
All right.
The one that agrees with you is, I think if we're going to bring in somebody from another game, make it one of the trial leaders from Sun and Moon. They weren't actual gym leaders in Sun and Moon because there wasn't actual gym battles in Sun and Moon. But bring in one of those characters and let them have an actual gym. especially considering in the canon of Sun and Moon, they were making a Pokemon League, and they were eventually going to have the 8 gyms thing, but there was like 10 trials, which means technically 2 of them are going to be out of a job. I think you bring the painter girl in.
I swear I got the painter girl and the bug girl mixed up. I thought they were the same person.
The stoner painter girl from Sun and Moon. I think we make her the third gym leader.
Oh my god, isn't like Berg all artsy fartsy too? That works perfectly.
Exactly. All right, I'll keep the other one in my back pocket because that's fine. For Gym 4, we're just gonna replace Elsa with Roxy. Gem 5, Clay. We're just gonna replace Clay with like his son or grandson, whatever. Skyla. What do we do with Skyla?
Completely new character.
All right, fair enough. Completely new character. Is she also a flying type gym leader? Or do we change it to a different type? I think if we're changing character, we change type.
I think we make it have we ever had a fairy type gym leader?
We've had like 4.
Never mind.
We've had a fairy type gym leader affected. That and the painter girl is fairy type, by the way.
Fair enough. Let's go dark.
With dark?
Yeah.
So a totally new dark type trainer. All right.
Yeah.
That works for me. Bryson, gym number 7. Honestly, I think we keep him. Because his whole gimmick is he's like a movie star, but he's also kind of old. I think playing into that like kind of joke of, hey, it's been 10 years and they're still fucking doing it. It's like Tom Cruise, and he's still making fucking Mission Impossible movies and he's like 80 years old. It's like I think that would be a fun like kind of analysis on the modern movie industry where it's just like these old ass men like fucking all of these like Scorsese movies where they're all like 80-year-old men screaming in a fucking restaurant, or like the MCU where it's just like 65-year-old Iron Man. I think we just keep Bryson, but just age him the 10 years. So he's just like this fucking feeble ass old man.
I don't know what's funnier. One, I kind of hate Bryson's design. I think he's ugly. But I think it'd be kind of funny if he was just kind of old and washed up and still dressing like he's that that ninja superhero star.
100%. All right. 8th gym leader then. Drayden. We've already established, get him fucking out of there. If anything, I think we make Drayden an Elite 4 member. In reference to how Iris stepped up to a champion, I think Drayden becomes at least an E4 member and kind of becomes like that like, because he's like supposed to be like the old like dragon user, right? Like make him like that old sage dragon user kind of thing, you know?
Honestly, half of me is on board with bringing Marlon back, but at the same time, Marlon in Humalao City was very cool. I loved that sort of like, I don't want to say callback to Hoenn, but it reminded me a lot of Hoenn.
I mean, that was intentional. In the lore of that place, they specifically mentioned that it's based, that city is designed to look like that city from Hoenn.
Fair enough. But when I initially played the game, I loved the city. I loved how different it was from everything. Marlon just kind of did not stand out enough in my mind. He was kind of blank slate.
Yeah, nothing. And then you have basically the exact same character being, what's her name? Nessia or something from Sword and Shield. And everyone just memes over her. Everyone just fangirls over the the water girl from Sword and Shield. You know who I'm
I
talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would be fine if they brought Marlon back, but my God, give him a character.
I think they bring Marlon back, but Elite Four member maybe. Or post game, like you can kind of like with Lenora in Black and White 2, where you can go back to that city and then fight her after in post game. I think you do that with him as well. I think you do that with Berg and like Skyla also. But
All right.
and Clay. Like I think you keep all of these gym
Ooh.
leaders that we get rid of, but then we save them for like as a post game or Elite
Ooh.
Four thing.
Ooh.
Oh, I have an
Ooh.
idea and you're gonna hate it.
Oh, I have an idea too.
What is it?
We have the former gym leader league.
What do you mean?
Because
Oh, like in the post
at the,
game, you get to go through and fight all the former gym leaders. Yeah.
yeah, they they have like a like singular giant gym where they recreate the gyms of olden yore, and I don't know, I'm saying it like that. They recreate their old gyms from the old games, and you fight them through that.
And then when you beat all 8 of them, you get gym badges from each. And once you complete all those gym badges, that gives you access to the world tournament.
All right.
But for Drayden's replacement, I have a really interesting idea.
All right.
This is a character that is a Unovan native. However, she was never in Black and White or Black and White 2.
Are you talking about like what are you on about?
I think we make the 8th gym leader Carmen.
Ooh.
Kirian's sister, the girl
Oh,
from the new DLC for Scarvi. I think you make it Carmen.
Karma.
Carmine, whatever her name is. I think you make it her. I think you make her the new gym leader and you make her, you know, whatever type she was in Scarvi. I think you incorporate those 2 characters. And that's, I was going to get to him too, but I think Kirian should be in Scarvi as a serious, or in a Black and White 3 as a serious character.
All right. I like it. I like it a lot.
So we make Carmine the 8th gym leader, and I think we make Kirian. Honestly, with the way the Scarvi DLC's going, we make him like one of the members of like the fucking evil team.
We'll see how his character comes along in the second DLC.
Fair enough. Either way, I think they should incorporate both of those characters. You know,
I think so too, especially bless you. Especially seeing as how they are going to Blueberry Academy. I think it would make sense for them to have some sort of parents in Unova.
yes. Or yeah, hell, even if you could even like even if you don't want to make them specifically the gym leader, Carmen or Kirian, you could make it like their dad or something, you know. Um all right. And then yeah, that at least that's the gym leaders. That's the old gym leaders. Um the Elite 4 I kind of don't care.
Elite Four, they were there twice.
The Gen 5 Elite 4 were there. Yeah, that's about all I can say about them. I remember the fucking X and Y ones more than I do Black and White, if I'm being honest.
What?
Hey, at least X and Y had like the fucking blonde dude with like the funny collar. I don't even remember his name, but I remember that character design. Was that Sun and Moon? I remember, what was it? Like the fairy looking girl from Black and White, like the psychic one.
Caitlin, yeah.
I don't remember any of the.
But there's Chantal, there's Marshall, there's Grimsley, there's Caitlin. I think Grimsley he looks cute in the gay vampire way.
Okay, I'm looking at him now. I think, honestly, you could probably cut all of them except Grimsley, in all honesty.
Yeah.
I think all of them could be cut and replaced. Like, replace one of them with Drayden. We have Grimsley. We have maybe Kyrian or something.
Karen.
And then Sharon, yeah. I think that's perfect. So that's Sharon is a normal type. Grimsley is a dark. Uh, dragon guy is a dragon. And then, Kyrian is a
Whatever.
whatever type, Anywho. But that's
Alright.
that's pretty much all the characters, right?
Yeah.
All right. I guess that moves us on to what
The next question, did you have anything in mind? Otherwise, I can lead us into the next topic.
go ahead.
As it has become a series staple since Sun and Moon now, regional variants.
So what I guess we could also do this as like any new Pokemon as well. But in terms of regional variants, I want to only give regional variants to non-Univin Pokemon, of course.
Naturally.
But Pokemon that would make sense in Unova. Do you have any particular ideas?
Why, yes, I do. I pitched this idea to you the other day.
Oh, and what was that?
Again, sort of leaning into that whole America, yes, America is shit. They based Pokemon on how polluted our water is and how trash filled our streets are. Yes, I get it. America bad. I'm all for it. But the other thing that, you know, is kind of part of American culture, cryptids.
Yes.
I think there should be a small handful of Pokemon that are based off of American cryptids. You know, we could have a Mothman, we could have a Bigfoot, we could have the Flatwoods Monster. I think that is one of the big tourist trappy things in America, at least amongst Americans, and I think that should be represented in Unova in a black and white 3.
100%. Now, which Pokemon would get these forms, though? Because I have a really stupid idea.
Oh.
I think, given that cryptids are typically very alien in nature, or at least some of them are, what if some of these regional forms are for the UBs? For the Ultra Beasts. Sun and Moon Ultra Beasts. Like, the Flatwoods Monster, I could definitely see as like a Nagandael form. Like a regional Nagandael. Mothman, honestly, Buzzwole. Or even Pheromosa. Like, a lot of the Ultra Beasts are very inhuman, very not of this world looking, because they aren't. And I feel like having that kind of idea of, yeah, it'll also play into the fact that, like Area 51, like these are fucking aliens, bitch. Like, I think that would be kind of fun, where it kind of takes those two aspects of American culture of like there be aliens and there be cryptids, and kind of mashing them in together as like one thing. And I think that would be really fun, to where just like, yeah, you make Buzzswole like a Mothman, right? You make, you know, and it, in universe, you explain it like, oh yeah, the UBs got released in Alola, which is in the US, mind you. So it makes even more sense. And they, over time, over the last 10 years, have begun to adapt to the region. And this is kind of like their actual Earth forms, or their actual, Poke Earth, whatever it's called.
I have a question for you then.
And it reincorporates them, because I don't think we've had the, what do you call it? I don't think we've had the Ultra Beast in like any Pokemon game since Sword or Sun and Moon. I don't think they were even in Sword and Shield.
I ask you this. The Ultra Beasts, are they... See, I didn't play much of Sun and Moon. Are the Ultra Beasts effectively common Pokemon in the dimension that they come from?
Yes.
Okay. So they're not like legendaries?
No. The Ultra Beasts from the universe they come from are the standard Pokemon. Hell, I believe in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, Nagandael and Pipopole, or the pre-evolution, whatever it's called, are literally described as, this is the starter Pokemon of our world. This is what young trainers start with. So, yeah, I'm like 99% sure that's how they worded it.
I'm going to hit you with this. We add because I do like that idea, but also how do I word this?
I think a lot of the cryptids honestly work super fucking well, because like I'm looking at like, artists' renditions of various cryptids, and it's like Mothman being, what do you call it? Mothman being something like Buzzswole, Fitz, Sasquatch. Honestly, could probably be a fucking what Guzzlord, like alternative Guzzlord, or even a Xurkitree. Fucking Flatwoods Monster would very, very much so either be Kartana or Kartana Pheromosa. Honestly, a couple of these could actually pass as like Flatwoods Monster. The squid one, I think, works very well as well. But yeah, like a lot of these could honestly work super well. But what were you saying?
I think the Ultra Beast, with how few we have, I think giving them regional variants, while yes, I agree it plays into that alien nature, I think I would like to see more just straight up new Ultra Beasts than have them get regional variants.
That could work too.
That would be like, we have Unova and Mewtwo. Mewtwo's a legendary. I mean, it's not the same thing, but like they're kind of special because of how few of them there are.
It's like a Yugioh fucking Iron Valiant.
Yeah. Yeah, the Paradoxmon are probably a bit more apt.
Yeah, I can see it. Like, and the UBs could just be there as well. It's just, you know,
I think they could definitely lean into the myth as they could, there could just be new Ultra Beasts that play into these myths. Like, I had a train of thought and I don't remember it anymore. Anywho, but yeah, that's sort of my pitch for regional variant cryptids. I think that would be a very fun thing for either new Pokemon or regional variants. What are your thoughts for regional variants? Because I remember you mentioning one the other day.
for regional variants, fuck, I don't even remember what I said last week.
Meta, Metagross.
Oh yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Um, the idea that I came up with was Metagross is one of my favorite Pokemon, and while I adore Metagross to bits, I hate one thing that's been happening with the tech industry over the last few years, and it's the oversimplification, right? Right? Think Apple, right? Everything has to be sleek and white and or at least, early 2000s, early 2010s Apple. Everything has to be sleek, everything has to be white, everything has to be, rounded. Think like Eve from Wally, but imagine that as Metagross. So that would be the regional form of Metagross, a very like 2010 Apple inspired Metagross design to where like whereas the regular Metagross is kind of rocky and kind of rugged, the new Metagross is sleek and round and much more kind of circular and hovers more. The central body hovers above the floating arms kind of thing. And a very like very much so Eve from Wally, where like her head and arms are kind of levitating next to her. It would fit for Metagross given the fact that he's a psychic type. And even more so, I feel like it would play into it because Apple did start in America and it is kind of a thing. It is huge and popular, and obviously Metagross's lore is Metagross is effectively a living supercomputer. So makes sense. I just think that would be like a really fun regional form to where just like it's instead of it's just smooth and white Metagross. Maybe the central orb, instead of having like the X over like the face, maybe it's just like a screen. Think like some of the what was it, like the Donphan Paradox Pokemon, how it's like its face is just a screen. Something like that. I think that would be really fun. I think that would be really cool for like a regional variant for that.
Hmm.
As for anything else,
I had one.
what do you got?
It is. I don't want to say it's tradition at this point, but it.
Garfield.
Yes, thank you. You,
Oh,
thank you. Unova Meow already had a Alolan and Galarian form. Give, give Meowth a Unovan form where he's just fat. I don't even know what you would do beyond that, what typing he would be. What type is Meowth anyways? Is it
normal.
normal? The other
He's
one.
a normal. I think the Alolan form is a dark, and then the Kalos form is steel. I'm pretty sure there's what 3 regional variants of Meowth.
There's Meowth, there's Galarian Meowth, there's a Alolan Meowth, and there's a Gigantamax Meowth.
Yeah.
Galarian is steel, Alolan is dark. Uh, hmm.
Ah, that's right. I was getting it confused with Sneasel. Because Sneasler looks very similar to Alolan Alolan Meowth.
I say make it a ground type.
Okay.
Either ground or rock.
I honestly, for doing like the food aesthetic, I would have said fairy, but
That could work too.
since it's fat and pudgy, like you do like fairies, that way it just like kind of throws food at people or something. It
Special
fires
move.
pasta sauce. Ah,
Yuck.
fuck, no. We make it a normal fairy.
Do we have a normal
Specifically,
fairy?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a normal fairy type, or if there is, I can't think of it.
Oh,
We
the Jigglypuff line.
but make it a normal fairy and then make it a sound Pokemon. So like
Yeah.
the whole gimmick is like it burps. And that's how it uses like all of its sound moves. So it can learn like boom burst and shit.
Please, please never say that sentence again.
What? I think that would be funny. Like when you were talking about like fat funny cat, I was like thinking of like what does Garfield do? Oh wait, he burps in John's face. Okay, cool.
Does he? Does he?
There are several Garfield comics where he does this. Yes.
I guess I'm not as big a connoisseur of the lasagna cat as you.
I mean, I have watched almost all of the Lasagna Cat videos. I did watch the entire 1 hour analysis of like that guy just ranting about how Garfield is the most important thing in his life. And I've watched all the Quentin reviews videos on it, so there is that.
Fair enough.
I guess I'm a bigger Garfield fan than I thought.
Certainly a bigger Garfield fan than I. Anywho, but yeah,
Any other Pokemon that should get regional forms?
I think there should be one from each generation at least, aside from Unova, obviously.
I think, well, Metagross would be Hoenn, right? Meowth would be Kanto. What would we do for Johto?
I feel like we had an answer for
Miltank.
this.
We just make it thin, sexy Miltank.
Jade, please, we don't need to give people more ammo for that kind of content.
For any of our viewers, the first one of you to post like to actually make art of like Gardevoir ass like bodies type cow Pokemon, I will personally send you a personally strongly worded message about how much I appreciate your artistic ability. Well, that exists. So now we wait until someone makes the art of this.
Whoever does that, know that if I see it, I will cringe a little. I will wince a little. Oh, Houndoom.
You think Houndoom?
Either Houndoom. Mm,
Honestly,
ooh,
if you want a good one, if you want a fun one, I say Furret.
that could be cute.
I say Furret and just make it a raccoon. Because obviously raccoons in just American culture and stuff.
Isn't Zigzagoon more the raccoon Pokemon?
I mean, yes, but this one you make like the what do you call it? This would be like a in a rival one. And it would also play into the, do meme. The walk and Furret meme.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Do do
Uh,
do do
oh,
do
there's
do
one.
do 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 do.
Knock towel.
Knock towel,
Make it a barn owl.
like just kind of make it fluffy and big.
Make it the Wan Shitan from Avatar, the library guy.
Ah, yeah. So give him like a little suit. Gotcha.
Give it a give it that scary circle face.
Yes. Um, any other good ideas from Gen 2? I feel like Ampharos could be like a really fun one. But like honestly, the only thing I could think of doing for Ampharos is just giving it its fluff back. Like making it just a big fluffy like Ampharos, but with like the same level of fluff as Mareep.
Isn't that just Mega Ampharos
No, Mega Ampharos gives it fucking
hair?
goddamn Fernando hair.
Fernando.
Or what Fabio hair.
Fabio.
That's right.
All right.
Um
I'm down. I'm down.
the Hoenn
Um,
Pokedex, Metagross. We have Metagross there already. God, finding an actual image of all of the Gen 3 Pokemon is stupid.
I was gonna suggest Sableye be the Flatwoods monster, but if we're gonna do Ultra Beasts, gonna
I
say that
personally think the Ultra Beast makes more sense, but if you want to do Ultra
fair.
Beasts as regular Pokemon, we could do that. I just think like putting that fun Pokemon spin on it of being they're aliens, and it would play into like, oh, you know, maybe it plays into like 3 layers of conspiracy theories, which I kind of think is hilarious, to where like, oh, they're actually aliens. They're also cryptids, and they're also kind of rare because they're UBs as well. And then, you know, people also like all these cryptid hunters are also like, they might be aliens, you know. So like it plays into like all of that. I just think it's far too perfect. But
Anywho, I don't want to get back on that.
Unova and Gardevoir, we just make her fat.
There's Jade, there's plenty of fan art of that already.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Seriously though, I think Metagross. I love my Metagross design. You know, total. Oh yeah, I had the Milotic one, right?
You suggested Milotic, but I don't think you gave a description as to what it would be.
Yeah. I thought kind of also playing into that kind of, you know, very pollution based design philosophy. We do Feebas, but we make it opposite. So whereas normally Feebas is kind of like the ugly one, and then it evolves into this big, beautiful, you know, dragon of the water kind of thing. We do the opposite, to where Feebas is like this beautiful, like fish Pokemon. Like think like, you know, Magikarp's much prettier cousin, and then it evolves into like this fucking corpse looking Milotic. Kind of like how obviously Feebas kind of looks like a dead what do you call it? Like Feebas looks like a dead Magikarp. We do that with Milotic almost, to where like Milotic looks like regular Milotic, but it looks, you know, the colors are faded. The fins are a little fucked up, like and hollow like Feebas's. You know, you make it look a little more disheveled, maybe a little smaller, and then you just kind of make it a, you know, water ghost type. Make it a little bit more disheveled and make like really sell that idea of like this was a really nice fish, and then just over the years of living in like American waters, it just kind of decayed and it was able to evolve, but now it's kind of, you know. I like that idea. Or hell, you don't even have to do like the pretty to ugly. You could just do regular Feebas evolves into this much worse looking Milotic through like some sort of alternate evolutionary method, kind of like Gardevoir Gallade, which
I
could
dig.
be interesting.
I dig. Uh, Gen 4.
Oh fuck! I didn't even mention. I have one more for Gen 3.
All right.
Cast form.
Does it just have an acid rain form?
No. The gimmick with this cast form is it doesn't change based on the weather.
Changes based on the time of day?
It changes based on the season.
Mm,
Because Gen 5's got that season system, baby.
that's fun. That's cute.
It would just be like, it's just a little gimmick. It's like not there to be anything serious. Not the cast form ever really was. Like it's just there to be like a, hey, remember Deerling or whatever, and how everyone hated how Deerling doesn't change based on the season anymore? Well, here's that. But as a whatever that is. Anywho, Sinnoh.
Hmm.
What are we thinking for Gen 4? For a regional form for Gen 4.
Lucario.
Yes, we make Lucario a quadruped. We mentioned that before. Or, well, you and me thought of that before. But yeah, make Lucario a quadruped. That would be fucking amazing. Just make him like a just little puppy. Make him a puppy dog. I love it. Make him a fucking dachshund or something.
Make it a dog with the bone in its mouth.
Yeah. Is there anything else that would be fun? Feel like my mind immediately drifts to Spiritomb, but I don't know what the fuck we would do with that. Um. Hmm. Okay. I hate that we're kind of harping on the whole like American bad pollution angle, but I think all three final evolutions of the Sinnoh starters should get a alt form.
All right.
I think for Torterra, his back should be almost this would change him from a grass rock or grass ground type to a grass steel, and it would specifically make him
Ooh, would his back be like a
be like
big city?
buildings. Yes.
I think that's cool.
You make his back, instead of being like mountains and trees, just like a big city growing on his back. For Infernape, I think instead of fire, we make it like smog, like smoke coming out of like a factory smokestack coming out of his head, basically. To where like it still has like that same kind of like almost hair look, but it's smoke instead of fire. And it kind of maybe that makes him what? Maybe that makes him a fire rock type or a fire ground type or something like that. And he just has like kind of darker colors and is more of like a, more of a fighter stance almost. How do you like that one?
Almost like he's coal powered or something.
Yeah, like he's like, yeah, exactly. Like he's coal powered, or he's got like, he's generating something in his, body. like a factory.
I
Um,
think it. I definitely think it fits the aesthetic of like industrialism.
industrialism, yes. And then for Empoleon, I think we kind of make him less sharp, kind of make him a little pudgier, but really try to sell the like CEO aesthetic almost. To where like we give him
Are
like
you
a
just turning
more
him into? Are you just turning him into the Batman villain?
fuck yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're just turning him into the penguin. But yeah, I think we do that. It would also, it would that would be a nice like kind of callback almost to the American made Batman comics. And it would play into the whole idea of this industrialization. You have the very natural landmass of Torterra turned into a city. You have the very clean fire of Infernape turning more into like coal and
Industrialism.
industrial smog. And then you have the very regal, kingly Empoleon
You
becoming the
have
more businessman, like CEO
yeah.
aesthetic.
You have the spirit of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. I I like those ideas a lot for these three, but
As do I.
all right. So that's Sinnoh. Next is fucking Kalos.
Gross.
Kalos is fine.
House is fine, I guess. I don't love. Anywho,
I know you don't love Kalos, but most, in all honesty, I don't feel super strongly on most Kalos Pokemon. There's only one, two, three, maybe five in total that I care about. Those being Greninja, Aegislash, Noivern, Trevenant, and Gudra. And Sylveon, but Sylveon doesn't count because it's a fucking Eevee. Is there any Pokemon here that you think should get a regional form?
honestly, not really. I don't think
I don't see anything here that would like at most I could see maybe like make Noivern into a more Batman, like make it into a melee fighter almost. Whereas Noivern's very, it's a special attacker. Make it like a more kind of buff, stronger, very, dark in the colors, make it very Batman esque.
that's
Um,
kind of the only thing I was gonna suggest. Maybe Aegislash, but
I was thinking,
Aegislash.
I was trying to think of something for Aegislash too, but I don't know what you would do.
Honestly, Aegislash in my mind would work better as a Paradox Mon, being just the Mega Man Zero digital blade.
Yeah, like a Buster Sword.
But that's Scarlet Violet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at most you do. I think at most you do like maybe something with Noivern and make him like Batman or something like that. I have kind of a fun one,
Oh,
actually. You make Trevenant. You take Trevenant and you turn him into You turn him into a Ghost Electric type instead. You turn him into like one of those cell phone towers that are pretending to be trees.
okay, that's a good one.
I'm proud of that one. I like that one a lot. You make it a Ghost Electric. um, but yeah, that's Kalos in a nutshell. Next is Alola,
Lola.
which I feel like kind of doesn't even need one considering we're just grabbing the UBs. But does anything immediately jump out to you?
Mimikyu.
Mimikyu? What would you do to Mimikyu?
Same thing you suggested the other day.
Oh, make him wear a Charizard outfit instead of a Pikachu one because everyone and their fucking mother won't shut up about Charizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Aside from that, yeah, I kind of feel the same way about like maybe Rock Ruff and Lycanroc and turn them into like
Turn them into a
maybe
coyote. Turn Rockruff and Lycanroc and make them like they're very like werewolf / dog aesthetic. Make them more like a coyote. Like make them a little more feral looking, a little more unhinged, like hyena like almost.
yeah, I was actually about to just say hyena. Not American, but who cares? Not everything has to be that.
I mean, fair. I think the coyote thing is kind of fun.
Make make it cowboy coyote.
Mm-hmm. Um.
And let's see Galar.
God, don't make me think of Sword and Shields. The
I
Galar
don't
Pokedex, one of the weakest fucking Pokedexes ever, with some of the worst Pokemon designs you've ever gotten. We wouldn't touch the starters because they're all ugly and I don't want to deal with them. Orbitals, whatever. Corviknight? Would you want to do anything with Corviknight?
um I hmm I feel like we could, but I'm struggling to find an angle to latch on to.
Yeah, that's kind of my problem too. Because like Corviknight's whole design aesthetic is kind of supposed to be like a possessed suit of armor from like old British castles, and I can't really think of a parallel in U.S. culture. Unless we just fucking slap a fuckload of guns and fucking turn him into an attack helicopter.
Um ooh,
But
I thought of one.
what?
Um Eldegoss.
Eldegoss?
Instead of it being a cotton plant Pokemon, turn it into a dandelion, a dead dandelion that has all the
Like the little things you used to pick and blow like into the wind as a kid.
yeah, wishing flowers.
So you just kind of make it. You just kind of make the body of it much thinner and kind of distraught. That's kind of fun. I don't like I said, I don't think Galar has like any particularly strong designs.
It it doesn't help that,
Like in my opinion, Galar's best designs are some of the regional variants because they're
and
working off of much better designs.
well, that also is part of the. I don't want to say it's part of the problem. That's another thing is that there's a number of Pokemon who are just evolutions to regional variants.
Yeah, like
A good
Cursula and
Regis,
Obstagoon, I really like Rune Regis.
but yeah, it's just that a percentage of the new Pokemon in that are just regional variants of existing Pokemon.
Yeah. I
Um,
I think like Copperjod makes no goddamn sense. Elephants don't exist in the US. Um like maybe a regional form for Duraludon that like makes him into more of a Bic lighter. Like makes him like plastic instead of steel. Like makes him fire dragon instead of steel dragon maybe. Um honest like it's a little weird given the fact that this is a Pokemon based on it's basically a Pokemon alt evolution regional form thing. But Rune Regus being like Native American like paintings and stuff instead of being whatever the fuck it is could be kind of fun. Yes, no.
I feel like that the idea works. I feel the root Pokemon is the issue because Rena Regis, yeah, it's just a regional version of Cofagrigus, who is a Unova Pokemon.
Yeah, you're right. You're actually right. I forgot. I forgot Cofagrigus was a fucking. Why the fuck is there ancient Egyptian? Is there an ancient Egyptian Pokemon in Unova? We're asking the wrong questions.
Why why is there the Darmaton monkey thing in Unova as well? Because Pokemon just picks and mixes and matches whatever mythos it wants to. It doesn't matter.
Fair. Darmanitan is such a fucking good design, though.
So if you want a better reason that Game Freak definitely didn't think about, oh, it's about the American spirit, how it's a culmination of cultures.
I think we could do a alternate variant of Hatterene.
I was just saying, I was just looking at her. Make her goth witch.
Yes. Make Hatterene like a fucking. I know you haven't seen the movie, and we're gonna fucking change that tonight. Make her a fucking hocus pocus witch. I know you don't understand what that means, but the viewers will, because literally everyone but you has seen this movie.
Hocus pocus. Uh-huh.
If you want a movie about sexy witches, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying anything one way or another, but anyway, that's Galar. Galar's whatever. Galar's bad. I dislike Galar greatly.
And finally, the most recent generation.
Paldea, or Palladia, as I so lovingly keep calling it. Fuck. Can I not get a single PNG that just shows every Pokemon from the region? Please? You'd think searching Paldea Pokedex would be like easy, but it's not. All I find is like tier lists. It's like, I don't want a tier list. I want everything, please.
Hmm.
Oh my lord, I hate. I am filled with so much hate right now. I can't. Can you find?
I have a list up here.
See, I need visual aid. I can't.
I have a visual list, yes.
Okay, I have a visual list now too, but it's all shinies. Fucking looks stupid. All right. What Pokemon do you think from Paldea should get a regional form?
Are we including Paradoxmon?
No.
Okay.
Which Pokemon from Galar should get a Unovan form, and why is it fucking Tinkaton? My idea for Tinkaton: give her a jackhammer.
Cute.
The Pokemon's the exact same. Like, physically, she is the exact same. She just has a fucking jackhammer instead of a hammer. And she, like, rides around on the jackhammer like a pogo stick.
Very.
I think that would be so stupid, especially given the fact that one of the big like things set piece wise in Black and White and Black and White 2 was that Yugioh was kind of under construction constantly.
Mm-hmm.
There were several regions throughout the region, or several routes throughout the region, where it was just effectively a giant construction site. So I feel like making Tinkaton have like actual like building equipment would be kind of hilarious.
I'm all for it. That's hilarious.
Is there anything else, any other Pokemon that you think should get potentially a
Mm,
fuck, which one is that called again? The whale, the ice whale.
ice.
Yeah, the ice whale. I forget what it's called.
Oh,
You know which one?
Titan.
Titan. I think we just make that Shamu. We just turn Titan and give it like the very like killer whale color scheme effectively, and make it a water type. Make it a water ice type instead of just a pure ice. Other than that, is there anything else you have any fun ideas for?
A regional evolution for Sharkadet.
Oh,
I'm trying to piece together in my head exactly.
like a third armor set that it could effectively wear?
Yes. And it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. It would just be robes. It would turn it into a wizard ass mage.
Okay. I like it. We need more wizard Pokemon that's not fucking Delphox or whatever it's called.
Give it a set of like wizard robes to. What type would it be? Fire, electric?
Because they all keep the fire, right? It's like fire, psychic, fire, ghost.
Yeah.
It would be fire. I would make
Or
it.
fairy.
I would make it fire fairy.
Okay.
Because I actually don't think there is a fire fairy type.
Let me check that. There is not.
There you go. See, I have a kind of a fun one. Goldengo.
Do we just turn it into a roll of pills?
So, no. So, you remember when we watched Assassination Classroom, right?
Uh-huh.
And remember the electronic girl who was like basically just a VTuber on like a moving like computer display, right?
Yeah.
So I think we do that.
What do you mean?
The Pokemon is just a physical, like, it's like a television screen. The Pokemon is a television screen. And on the television screen, you have like a slightly mixed up digital Goldengo. And that's the Pokemon in reference to Bitcoin.
I realize what you're doing halfway through what you said.
Uh-huh. It fucking works, doesn't it?
I hate it.
You make it what type is Goldengo already? Is it just Steel? Or Steel Psychic or something? Or Steel Ghost?
Steel Ghost.
Oh, okay. So then I think you probably just change that to Electric Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really fun. Just like, this is a Pokemon that's effectively just, it lives in electricity. So it just has, like, I mean, Yeah, it would be Electric Ghost because it just possesses, kind of like Rotom. It just possesses like screens.
Hmm. I hate it so much, babe.
Uh-huh. It's perfect though, isn't it?
Regrettably, yes.
Um.
I feel like I
Oh
had one
fuck.
more.
I got a good one too. I got another good one. I'm just full of good ones for fucking Palladia. All right. Tatsugiri. You make him a California roll. You wrap him up so instead of him sitting on like a bed of rice, he's just encased in like basically he's just encased in rice all around his body like a sushi roll.
It'd be cute. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I got a really bad one.
Oh no. Should I be afraid?
You make it a regional evolution for Mousehold or for Tandem Mouse, and it's where they fucking divorce. So it goes from 2 mice to 1. Fuck.
Jade, what's its name? We have to come up with a name.
Okay, so it goes Tandem Mouse to Mousehold. So it'd be Tandem Mouse to Solo Mouse.
Hmm.
Mouse Solo.
Yeah, it would probably be that.
God. Fuck. Demouse. Fuck. This was a mistake. This podcast was a mistake. All right. Fucking perfect.
Mouse Lamoni.
Mouse Lamoni. Fuck. That's perfect. Oh god, it has like a signature move to where like it has to pay money to its fucking for
Mm-hmm.
child support. So it has to pay money for child support for visiting rights. So its ability is it pays half its health, but then it like adds one of the kids to it and it gets mega Kangaskhan's effect to where all of your attacks attack twice.
That's cute in a very, oh, this is sad.
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of perfect though.
Fuck.
God. Oh god, we're terrible people.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any final Pokemon? Fuck. This one's technically not a part of any region, but I got a good one.
Hmm.
Fuck. What is it called? What is the stupid Bolt Pokemon that they made specifically for Pokemon Go?
Meltan.
Meltan. You make Meltan, but you make it a Tesla coil instead. For like Nikola Tesla.
Fuck. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And then its evolution is just like this weird amalgamation of like Tesla coils and light bulbs, but it's like kind of fighting at each other in reference to the whole Tesla versus Edison thing. All right. Is there anything else you can think of? Is there anything else you'd like?
For Pokemon, mm, I think we're good.
All right. Now, crazy, but we're already almost 2.5 hours into this podcast. Do you want to keep going, or do we leave it here for a part 2?
It's already long enough as is, but it's I feel like we're already on a ball. The ball's
Fair enough.
rolling. If we stopped, we wouldn't know where to pick back up.
All right.
My alternative is that we split this episode into 2 parts where we record the rest of it tonight and then post it later.
Alrighty. So in that case, we are gonna take a quick BRB real fast though. Just to, situate that. And then we will return in just a moment. Alrighty. So,
Welcome back.
where do you want to move next? What is the next part of this Pokemon Black and White 3 theory craft going?
I think this is going to be a big one. And there's kind of no other way to. I feel like we've danced around it as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
What is the plot? What are the main themes? And what has become of Getsis?
In terms of like the main thesis, the main plot, the main kind of idea that the story would get across, I feel like the ultimate Pokemon Black and White 1 and 2, one dealt with the idea of obviously introducing this idea of, is the idea of Pokemon training actually good. And yes, of course it is. But it also introduced this idea of living not just for your own truth, but or the difference between living for your or someone's ideals or living for your own truth, right? And that's kind of that yin and yang, the embodiment of Zekrom and Reshiram. And Black and White 2 took that and kind of took that in the natural conclusion of things, to where in obviously Black and White 1, it's kind of presented in a very, who would have guessed it, very black and white manner. It's very, are you living by someone else's ideals or your own truth? Whereas in Black and White 2, it kind of introduces that, obviously, that, shade of gray, right? With, in reference to Kyurem and all this stuff. But it brings in this, you don't have to choose. You can live with someone's ideals while also sticking to your own truth. And it kind of plays into that idea of, like, Colress. Colress is one of the big embodiments in that second game, to where, like, he is working for Ghetsis to effectively take over the world for Ghetsis. He's working under Ghetsis' ideals, but at the same time, he is working to his own ends. He's not doing it just because, oh, I'm doing it for a paycheck, or I'm doing it to work for Ghetsis. I'm doing it to get what I want. And what I want is I want the further advancement of science. I want to be able to experiment to my heart's content. And that shows that kind of level of that shade of gray in that story aspect. So I think it's almost like the story of Black and White and Black and White 2 is very yin and yang, dare I say. So for the story for a potential Black and White 3, I feel like we have to kind of, in a few ways, pivot and kind of recontextualize those same ideals or those same ideas in a more modern context. And kind of introduce the idea of not just whether to live by someone's ideals or your own truth or some facsimile of, but also introduce that idea of lineage almost, to where that's why I was like, had that idea of who do you see as your hero at the beginning of the game, because that would effectively play in to the overall themes of the game. The idea of trying to live up to your idea of someone. Is that your own truth? Is that what you truly want? Or is that you trying to live up to someone else's ideals? And it kind of incorporates that general theming, that general writing into the overarching story. Trying to, you as the protagonist, yes, you are setting out on your Pokemon journey, because of course you want to start out on your Pokemon journey. But at the same time, you're also, you look up to this other trainer, that being Hilda, Hilbert, whoever. And it's kind of one of those scenarios where it's like, are you really doing this for yourself, or are you doing it because you want to, are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it because that's something that society is telling you to do, right? Or something that others' ideals are kind of being pushed on you. And we kind of just experience that, deal with the story through that lens, to where that's why you would have Hilda and Hilbert being like that ultimate goal in the distance, maybe post game or whatever. And then maybe, Nate and Rosa show up and kind of show a similar take, that they were in a similar situation where throughout all of all of Rosa and Nate's adventure, they were constantly being told about how great Hilda and Hilbert were. And how they kind of didn't necessarily allow that to mold what they truly wanted. It may have influenced it, and it may have had that shade of gray there. But it kind of goes to show that any of these situations can potentially be correct. It just depends on how you yourself want to shape that. And that would be kind of the overall thesis of the story. Please talk now, Ren.
You're the writer, girl, not me.
Fair enough.
Um, hmm. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember.
What were you trying to remember?
I remember watching a very well done video talking about Black and White 2 from like a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
but I just can't quite for the life of me remember that.
Yeah.
But it specifically talked about how its themes, the themes of Black and White and Black and White 2 are represented in its gameplay. And while the themes didn't necessarily line up with the gameplay in Black and White 1, they definitely did in Black and White 2, and I'm just gonna have to show you that video afterwards.
I think I might have seen that video already, but you'd have to send it to me so I can double check. But yeah, like those themes play into, again, that's largely why people revere the Black and White stories as much as well as they do, because everything kind of plays in perfectly to that formula. Pokemon as a franchise has had kind of that same story of just like, you're going off on your adventure, you're going to do things, you're going to deal with an evil team, and then yada, yada, yada. But Black and White was kind of the first game where they kind of took that same idea and kind of analyzed it. The idea of Team Plasma being this very, PETA styled force isn't just a criticism on, PETA being an American, whatever, right? It's more on it's like an introspection. Is Pokemon training something that's like, actually, good? It does take the shit out of PETA a little bit, and where it is very much kind of doing the, PETA back in the 90s was very like, Pokemon is fucking basically dog fighting or, cockfighting, whatever. And while, yes, those parallels can certainly be made, Pokemon, at least from what we see in terms of gameplay and the anime and all that stuff, Pokemon is very much more of almost like a found family in a lot of ways, or like, very, pet focused. But in a lot of ways, it's portrayed as like these are more than just your dog, right? These are more than just, your household pet. These are partners that you make for life in a lot of ways, and it's always been portrayed as something very good for not just the player but also the Pokemon. And Black and White kind of took that and kind of rolled with it and was like, you took that for granted in all the other Pokemon games. You were like, oh yeah, of course Pokemon is good and like all this stuff. But even though you kind of still knew that, like, yeah, of course being a good Pokemon trainer is going to be the good thing, it still made you kind of question that in a lot of ways. And then it also showed that in the context of the games, and even through like the encounters with N, like straight up calls you out in the first game and is like, yo, you call yourself a good Pokemon trainer, but you're forcing your Pokemon to fight. You're forcing your Pokemon to get hurt. For what? And it kind of calls that into question. And for a potential Black and White 3 story, I think a lot of these themes we need to given the fact that it's a 10-year time skip, I feel like taking these themes and reassessing them in the context of almost hero worship, I feel, is the plot line we would go through. Or more so, forces from society and stuff influencing the individual and how the individual acts or would act. And maybe, for this potential Pokemon Black and White 3, we kind of do something different to where Team Plasma was very much, it's PETA, right? We need to remove Pokemon from people so Pokemon can be free. And I guess in Black and White 2, it was kind of taken to the more extreme of let's kill, well, it wasn't even really that. In Black and White 2, it was just Getsus wants to take over the world by killing everybody. It wasn't even like they'd kind of dropped that whole facade of being like actually for the Pokemon at that point. And I feel like in a Black and White 3, we kind of take that full circle in the opposite way to where this new team, be it, a new version of Team Plasma or an entirely different team altogether, is now here. And they have those same ideals. They have that same, we want to free Pokemon from the will of people. We want Pokemon to return to their natural state. And they just take the homicidal route. They take the Team Flare route of, let's not remove the Pokemon from people. Let's remove the people from Pokemon. And that would kind of play into that similar way of whoever this evil team is, however we end up writing it, would be inspired, be inspired or even directly controlled by Getsus again. I personally, if I was writing it, I wouldn't have Getsus as the main villain. I would have him as like kind of a Giovanni figure from, kind of like Giovanni from, what do you call it? Heart Gold Soul Silver. To where like these are people that genuinely believed in Getsus's cause, not the like thing that he made all the people think, where it's like, oh, they just want to, they're just PETA. These are like literally the radicals from like Black and White 2 that are like, oh yeah, let's wipe out the world and free the Pokemon. Like, let's kill all the people and free the Pokemon. And these are people that have literally been manipulated, not directly by Getsus. Like, Getsus may as well just not be the story at all. But these are people who were inspired by Getsus's ideals, by Getsus's plan. And this is a radical team that's effectively coming in and trying to see what they think is Getsus's original true goal to fruition. They don't necessarily see it as him just wanting world domination. They see it in the more, he wanted Pokemon to be free. So we're going to take that a step forward and kill everyone so that way they're free. Kind of the Ultron dilemma kind of thing, my directive is to save people. I'll save people by killing them all. Which, yeah, it could be a little metal for a Pokemon game, but, they did it in X and Y. Team Flare's entire, evil plan was to kill all of the ugly people so they could create a beautiful new world. The story of X and Y was literally genocide. I mean, to be fair, most of the evil teams are literally genocide. Regardless of what they say in Gen 3, those evil teams were planning genocide. We want to remove the ocean so no life can live on Earth. Cool. We want to remove the land so no one other than fish life can live. Cool. So, at least in terms of the evil team story and the overarching themes of the game, I think it'll play very much into that. Again, it's the truth and ideals thing. It's the truth of the situation. Getsus's truth was he wanted to wipe out the world, but playing into that aspect of the hero worship or almost thing that I kind of want to go into, that leads this new evil team to see Getsus's old plan and then create that new, much worse evil plan for the wrong reasons, because they're the evil team. They're not supposed to have, everything together. So obviously that representation of the truth and the ideals, that would skew in the incorrect way, right? That would be these people being manipulated by the ideals of Getsus that aren't even the actual ideals of Getsus, you know?
The way you're describing this right now, it's just making me think. It's just making me think of Metal Gear Solid 3, how everyone misinterpreted the boss's dream.
Yes. That's actually what I'm taking inspiration from. Thank you.
Good.
That idea of this is a group of people who heard of Getsus. They never even actually met him, maybe. Or they were like past members of the original Team Plasma or whatever. And they saw what Getsus was trying to do. They saw when Team Plasma came back in Black and White 2 and tried to like ice the planet. And like they saw all this and they were like, all right, we're going to roll with it. They never met Getsus. They never knew Getsus's real intention. Because realistically, only the player did. Right? Realistically, unless it like came out on the news or something. But realistically, Getsus's like Getsus's intention in the first 2 games was just world domination. That's all he wanted. He was just using the idea of take the Pokemon away from people as a ploy to basically disarm everybody so he could take over the world, right? That was the whole crux of Black and White 1, and then in Black and White 2 he comes back and is just going to try to take over the world with force with the power of Kyurem. So yeah, this evil team would be kind of doing the same thing Getsus was doing in Black and White 2, but under the pretense of what Getsus was doing in Black and White 1. Because again, this is like a 10-year time skip and telephone game happens. And that would also play into the legendaries of the story. The idea of through all the lore that we have from Black and White, right? All of this lore that we have talks about how Kyurem, Zekrom, and Reshiram were originally one dragon. And that dragon, at some point, effectively broke apart and became Zekrom and Reshiram. And then the kind of decaying corpse, or the shell left over, was Kyurem. But that's realistically all that's kind of remained all this time. So again, going into that kind of telephone game kind of style, the idea of I guess that's the way we could summarize the overall theme of the story I would write for it, is misinterpreting the ideals and truths of others and trying to make that your own truth. That plays into the villain. That even plays into the heroes in some ways. Because for the trainer, it's all, you're trying to live up to Hilda and Hilbert's example. For Getsus, or for the new Team Plasma, or whatever the new evil team is, it's them trying to live up to Getsus's ideals, which weren't even the correct ideals. For, N and maybe Hilda Hilbert and the other protagonists like Rosa and Nate, their idea of trying to bring back the Origin Dragon, maybe that is also incorrect. And by them inadvertently bringing back the Origin Dragon, or, again, this could be written in a couple different ways. It could be the evil team trying to bring back the Origin Dragon, or it could be the original protags as well. But they try to bring back the Origin Dragon because, this is something that's supposed to bring peace, right? The Origin Dragon was here, and it was the perfect union of yin and yang. It was supposed to bring peace. But what if that peace was misinterpreted? What if the reason that Origin Dragon originally split apart was because it was this volatile creature? Something evil, something wrong, something that... Or maybe not even evil. If this Origin Pokemon is supposed to be like yin and yang, right? The perfect encapsulation of yin and yang. Maybe the bad part of that is that constant state of equilibrium. Forcing everything to effectively be stagnant, fucking anti-spiral style, where everything is basically has to be stagnant in order to keep balance. And the destruction of that Pokemon effectively led to people now having ideals and truth and all of this stuff. So by reforming that dragon, it effectively starts screwing over the world. So it eventually kind of comes down to having to stop that dragon or find a way to control it so that way that doesn't happen. And that, again, also plays into that misinterpreted, in this case it would be the misinterpreted lore of the past. Maybe it's Colress who's trying to do this, whatever. There's a lot of potential characters that could be doing it. But yeah, so like overall, the story that I have in mind for this would be the story of misinterpreting your heroes. Misinterpreting your heroes or misinterpreting the past would be the ultimate theme between the player character and the past protags, and kind of that whole cycle too. Like the current, like the Black and White 3 protagonist looks up to Hilda and Hilbert, just like how Nate and Rosa kind of did too, by constantly being told about them. The new evil team looking up to Getsus and causing that, and potentially Colress or the protags or any combination of players looking up to this origin dragon to try to bring solace or bring peace. And I, at least in my opinion, I think that connects with the themes of the base 2 games like pretty damn well. But Game Freak, hire me. That's all I gotta say. I don't speak Japanese, but I can translate. Except I can't because I don't speak Japanese. But don't worry.
Get Bill Trinan to do it.
Yeah. Hire me with a big enough salary so that way I can also hire Bill Trinan, and then he can then translate everything I'm saying into Japanese so you guys can actually write a good Pokemon game. Hey Nintendo, call me. Anyway, fuck, that was like 30 minutes of me just blabbing on. How do you feel about that, Ren?
You said a lot of pretty words, said things that made sense and were coherent. Me likey.
Uh-huh. Is that all you have to say?
I'm not a writer, babe. I am actively not a writer. I am not necessarily the lowest common denominator, but
I understand.
me no think good. Me play game. Me get emotional connection. Me feel things.
Fair enough.
I I can sometimes pick up subtext, but I I am not the most well versed in writing and theme writing. My opinion is this sounds like a story. This sounds like good ideas.
Fair enough. Um, I guess. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, babe?
All I would say is yes, the thesis statement, the misinterpretation of your hero's past, you know, the ideal self and the path you wish to pursue. I think again, Scarlet Violet played into it a little bit as well. I think there should be a much bigger emphasis on side stories. I think that they had something good going on in Scarlet Violet, and I think they should really amp up the side content. I think that sure, every Pokemon trainer, every kid that gets their first Pokemon, the big goal is, to become the champion, defeat all the gym leaders, become the champion. But I think there should be an emphasis that, you know what? Maybe that's not everyone's end goal, and that's fine. Maybe your end goal is you want to dress up your Pokemon. Maybe your end goal is that you want to help these restaurant businesses that are failing. Maybe your end goal is just you want to coexist with these Pokemon, go about your daily life. And you know what? Maybe you'll get to the Pokemon League. Maybe you won't. And that's fine. Obviously, it's a Pokemon game. You're going to do that regardless. But I think there should be a big emphasis on that's not the be all end all of a Pokemon trainer.
Yeah. I I kind of touched on it earlier this podcast, but if I were to make my own Pokemon game, I would definitely have the thing. Funny enough, only one Pokemon game has ever done it, and it was what do you call it? Only one Pokemon game's ever done it, and it was Ruby and Sapphire. Did you know that Ruby and Sapphire effectively had two primary goals throughout the entire game? Like two like basically sets of 8 gyms throughout the entire game.
Oh.
In Ruby and Sapphire, every town that had a gym also had a contest hall. And the way the contest halls functioned in those games is almost identical to the gyms, to where you would enter the town. The first one of these contest halls that you found were like the basic contests. And then like as you adventured on, each of the subsequent halls that you would find would be like the next stage up. So the objective would be go to the contest hall when you enter a town, win that contest, get the ribbon or whatever, and then move on to the next one so you can collect all 8 of the ribbons and then go to the master contest, which was then effectively like the Elite Four of contests and the champion of contests, which then won you the overall championship. So that was like, in subsequent games, they kind of had it to where like effectively the same thing, except they would always relegate it to like, oh, it's just one building. So you just do everything from the one building. You unlock the contest hall in Emeralds, and it's one building in like one of the final cities. So you just knock it all out at once and then you're done. Or like, it was the same way in, what do you call it? In this game, in Black and White 2. Contest hall was in Eliza's town. Knock it all out and then you're done. I much, much, much rather prefer the way Ruby and Sapphire did it, where they were kind of dotted around the city or dotted around the region, to where like you just knocked, one out after each gym, or you could come back or whatever. And it felt like it was like an alternative part to you still had to do the gyms and everything, but like it felt like a fun alternative part of your adventure. Similar to the way Scarvi did it with the evil teams and the super Pokemon, whatever they were called, the Titans. And like, again, if I was writing, if I myself was making Pokemon Black and White 3, I would incorporate that. I would have contest halls in like all the major towns, up to 8 of them. I would have like the Battle Frontier things from Emerald in every town. Because that was what they effectively replaced the contest halls with in Emerald, is where all the contest halls, except for the final one, is they were like Battle Frontier, like test zones, to where like these are just small, easier like Battle Frontier sections, to where you would go to these, and then once you amass all of like the gym badges effectively from that, then you were supposed to get your invite to the Battle Frontier after that. Problem is, they decided to change that last second during development, so they basically serve no purpose. You can go there, you can do stuff at them. They basically do nothing, because when you beat the game, you just get the fucking pass to the Battle Frontier anyway.
How lame.
Yeah. But like I would have something like that. And then I would have like in most of the major cities, I would have like some new, interesting, unique thing to that city. Um, in Eliza's town, I would have obviously the gym, the contest hall, but then you know, maybe actually play into the idea of the theme park thing that they were done. So like maybe add some rides or some carnival games, some mini games to do there. Obviously we're not allowed to do the gambling mini games anymore from like the older games, like the game corner. But maybe do some like fun little arcade games or something. And then maybe in the ice town, you're given like maybe there's like a puzzle dungeon where you have to do like those ice puzzles and varying difficulties to unlock rewards or special Pokemon or something. Or so like each town, I would want like a unique activity that you couldn't do in any other town. Bring back the Pokeathlon, you fucks. Please tell me you did the Pokeathlon, babe.
I did like 2 events in them.
I literally 100% did the Pokeathlon in Soul Silver.
Unsurprising.
Thanks.
Didn't you basically 100% Soul Silver
Oh,
outside of events?
Oh no. No. I did 100% Soul Silver, including the events. I had all of the event Pokemon for Heart Gold Soul Silver. I had the special Celebi, so you got the time travel event. I had the Raikou and Entei, so that way you got the what was it? The Raikou and Entei got you so there was, if I remember correctly, there was 2 Celebi events. There was the one where if you had like the shiny Celebi, you'd take it to the forest, and then you would like go back in time and see Silver's backstory with Giovanni. There was another one that lets you catch a Celebi by having like the shiny any of the shiny dogs, I believe, something like that. And then there was the Arceus one where if you had the special Arceus, you could get Giratina, Dialga, or Palkia at the ruins. I feel like there was another one, but no, I did all of those. Oh, the notch-eared Pikachu. I got that one too.
Pichu.
That's what I said.
I heard Pikachu.
But yeah, I maxed out all of those events. And I didn't even like hack those event Pokemon in. I literally went to like a GameStop in like buttfuck nowhere and got my stupid Pokemon and then left. But yeah, and I would bring those back too. I would have like special events for all of like the legendaries. I feel like so often now, like even with like Scarlet and Violet, it's like, oh, I basically did a collectathon and now the legendary Pokemon is just standing there. All right. I would do like something unique. I would do something cool where like maybe they're in like a special zone or they're in a special area, like that's like unlocked through like a side quest or something, to where you kind of get to learn the backstory and the history of this legendary before actually encountering it. Similar to like did you ever do the almost all of the events in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum were phenomenal for that. And Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Did you ever do any of those, Ren?
I did not, because I did not have access to those events.
Fair enough. I mean, at least for Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, the U.S. didn't get any of those, or anywhere outside of Japan didn't get any of those anyway. Those you had to action replay in, but I did get to experience those.
I think Platinum could get at least one of them.
Maybe.
I do remember one of my brothers who had my copy of Platinum was able to get the famous event legitimately.
Okay. Oh, well, I think the Shaman event in Platinum was just in the game. I don't think that was an event because obviously one of the changes with Platinum was they added the Skyform Shaman or whatever. So I think that was just an event in the game that you didn't have to have like a special thing for. But yeah, like that to where like with the Shaman event, it was like the secret little grove in the corner of nowhere that would only unlock if you had this very specific item. And then when you had the item and went there, like Professor Oak would be there and he would talk to you about like, oh, this is like supposed to be some secret area where gardenias only bloom here and there's a Pokemon specifically tied to that to where like this time of year it might actually be here. And then you like go through it, unlock the area, and then obviously the Pokemon's there. Or with like Arceus, you get the flute, you climb all the way back up to where you caught Dialga and Palkia, and then you play the flute from your inventory, and it opens a completely separate section of the map on like a hovering platform up in heaven, effectively, where you get to fight Arceus. And it's like, I would bring stuff like that back for sure. Like, instead of like Tornadus, Landorus, and whatever being roaming legendaries like they were in the original Black and White. Oh fuck no, those fuckers would be in like some sort of I would if I was making this for like Switch or something, I would incorporate effectively the mini game from Dream Radar into the game. Obviously modified so it's not like camera based and all this shit. But I would incorporate something like that to where you can catch all of the genies through that as like kind of a little reference to Dream Radar. But like also a lot of the stuff that we're saying here is like they would never do in a fucking million years. This is like so much extra effort for one Pokemon game. But that's why it's fun to talk about it because this is shit that's just never going to happen.
This would be like the big triple A Pokemon game imaginable where they get like actually competent teams to help.
Uh-huh. It's crazy as I'm fucking sure there are probably like actually very competent dev teams out there that would probably just work with Game Freak for fucking peanuts. You know? Like I'm sure like the Temtem team or like any number of these like indie Pokemon adjacent game developers could probably be persuaded to be like, "Hey, help us make a game that doesn't suck." And they would probably do it for like minimum investment. But yeah, anywho. Is there anything else that you feel like we would need to talk about in terms of... Oh, there's one thing that I've thought of, but what about you?
I think that's all the like big sections, big topics I can think of at least.
All right. For me, what post-game facilities would you have in this game?
Has my mic been off?
No, it's been on.
Or has it? I don't know. If you missed what I said, doesn't matter. Um, Post game facility. I Can you give me an example?
Well, the one I would 100% reintroduce and add a fuckload more content to would be the Pokemon World Championship. That is a feature exclusive to Pokemon Black and White 2, where it's a massive tournament facility where you can effectively fight every gym leader from every Pokemon game, every champion from every Pokemon game, and a various slew of other tournaments as well. or like the Battle Frontier from Emerald and Heart Gold Soul Silver and Platinum. I always forget that they have a Battle Frontier.
Mm. Oh, fuck. I have an idea. It's so outlandish. It's so stupid. And honestly, it has no right being in a Pokemon game.
Say it.
We had the Pokemon TCG.
Like you just get to play the TCG in the game.
Maybe like a very dumbed down version of it. Maybe like only the first year or so of cards, or like one very specific gen of cards. But
Bitch, are you telling me to add Gwent to this Pokemon game? Because fuck yes, we're adding Gwent to this Pokemon game.
I've never played Gwent. I don't know what system Gwent runs off of.
No,
I'm sure it's Gwent, but
I'm saying it hyperbolically because people will know what I'm talking about. But like, one of my favorite things from The Witcher 3 is that there's just a fucking competitive card game in that game. And like, one of the various things, you could just spend an entire day venturing across the land just to compete in this fucking card game with people. And it just feels like an episode. It feels like a season of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's amazing. And if I could do that in a Pokemon game, it would be so fucking fun.
I I think that should be like one of the optional side quests. Is that, yeah, you're occasionally you would come across people that are, they're avid card fans, and you get to play them. You get to play in little local tournaments, and after you've built a rapport, after a reputation, after challenging all the people in the locals of the region. That's right. You get to go to Big Boy Town. You get to play in the actual regional tournaments of the card game.
See, I say make
No,
it
you
even
no.
more omnipresent to where like every person, every NPC you can just effectively fight in the Pokemon card game if you wanted to. To where like I wouldn't necessarily that would be really odd if they wanted to do it, but like if you really wanted to, you could fundamentally like if you hit a trainer, you could be like, "Hey, let's battle with Pokemon cards instead." So like if you wanted to play the entire game playing it with effectively the Pokemon TCG instead of the regular Pokemon combat system, that could be fun as shit. Like as
I
an
think
option.
I think that would work for some trainers, but not obviously not everyone's into the card game.
Fair.
I kind of like it as just like its own little small locals thing, but I also kind of like the idea of post game. It's it's just the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh. You go to TCG Island.
Fair enough. I like it. I like it a lot. And then like over the course of the game, everyone you beat gives you like a pack of cards or something like that. And I like it a lot. Reminds me of Inscription playthrough 2. All right, all right. Anything else? Like I would definitely bring back the World Championship. This is one that I don't think anyone talks about. I would bring back the Battle Chateau. The Battle Chateau has only ever been in one Pokemon game ever. That being, of course, X and Y. Do you remember what the Battle Chateau was?
Nope, not in the slightest.
So the Battle Chateau was a place you unlocked after the fucking first gym leader. And the dumbest thing they ever did. And what this facility is it doesn't act like any of the other like Battle Frontier facilities where when you enter here, you can just use your regular team at their regular levels and you actually get XP and money from everyone you fight here. So the idea of the Battle Chateau is it's effectively a randomly generated building filled with randomly generated trainers that you can just fight for money and XP. That's it. Granted, the fact that they put it in X and Y after the first fucking gym leader, did I mention that it also scales with the player's team? So what you could do in X and Y is beat the first gym leader, go to the Battle Chateau, and just fucking go ham, and then go to the second gym leader with a full team of level 100s. So, like, that's fucking overkill. I'm saying, like, add it back as a post-game thing, so that way it's like a, you know, it's like a randomly generated, hell, maybe even incorporate the thing from Sword and Shield. Fucking wild that I'm saying for them to add Sword and Shield stuff. But in the second DLC for Sword and Shield, they added a fucking roguelike mode to where, like, it was, like, run-based, to where, like, you would fight, like, waves of harder and harder Pokemon, eventually culminating in, like, fighting a legendary and being able to catch it, whatever. But, like, incorporate something like that to where, like, you enter this building with your team, and obviously the difficulty ramps up the longer you're here, to the point where, you know, maybe you'll actually lose. But the longer you're in here, the more XP, the more money you get. And it allows you to effectively level teams incredibly fast. And it allows you to do it with randomized opponents, to where one of my least favorite things about playing like post-game Pokemon, because I love getting my Pokemon to level 100 because it's like nice and I like seeing the big number and whatever. But I fucking hate, especially in a lot of the early Pokemon games, to where, like, if I wanted to get my Pokemon, my entire team to level 100, I had to spend like 20 hours grinding the fucking Elite Four over and over and over and over again until they were all level 100. Or in some other Pokemon games, like the Ruby and Sapphire remakes, it's like, go to this person's fucking secret base and fight the specific player with a team of nothing but level 100 Chanseys over and over and over again. And it's like, that's fucking boring. I don't like doing that. I don't like fighting the same trainers over and over and over again ad nauseum. And they've kind of rectified that with Sword and Shield and Scarlet Vi, where obviously now there's like XP candies and the raids and stuff, which are fine. It makes it fast. But I feel like for those who don't want to have to use the XP handies and stuff, I feel having this just effectively this dungeon, this randomly generated dungeon that just gives you random opponents so you can just fight for XP and money ad nauseum would be a fucking great addition. I feel like it just literally adds free replayability because it allows you just an excuse to keep fighting trainers. I know I spent a godforsaken amount of time in it in X and Y just grinding out teams. But that's like, the Battle Chateau is like my number one thing that I wish would come back. Otherwise, the only other thing is probably those raids, or those that roguelike mode from Sword and Shield DLC. That's probably the only other thing I would honestly want to come back. That you're going to fight like these big, strong, super Pokemon. Basically, you're doing like 2 raids back to back. And if you beat those 2 raids, then you got a raid against a legendary. And like, you know, kind of mixing that up a little bit, but reincorporating that would be fun. But yeah, is there anything else you'd like to speak about, Ren?
Something that we didn't really touch up on, or no, we suppose we kind of did. visually, functionally, how do you want this game to look? How do you want it to play? Do you want it to be more akin to the 3DS Pokemon games? Do you want it to be more akin to the actual DS Pokemon game?
I mean, I've gone on record multiple times saying it. I want an Octopath Traveler looking Pokemon game. Like, I know every time I bring it up, you kind of roll your eyes because you hate the lighting system in that game, but tone down the lighting system. Make it a little bit more anime lighting instead of fucking Unreal Engine 4 bloom effects dot game. And then just kind of incorporate that. Have 2D sprites with a 3D world, which again, that it was what Gen 4 Pokemon was that. Gen 4 and 5. Go back and play Diamond and Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Fire, Black and White 2. The actual worlds are in 3D. Even the stuff that looks like sprites are in 3D. The only thing that's 2D are the sprites themselves. And honestly, reincorporate that, but with much better lighting, much better textures, and just a overall redux. Honestly, keep the fucking like character sprites and the Pokemon sprites almost the same from Black and White 2. Just add a more refined lighting engine. Give those nice lighting effects like Octopath can do when they're not turning the bloom up to a fucking 1,000. Do some of those fun effects and kind of play with the medium with those HD, all that stuff. I would fucking kill for a Pokemon game that looked that as good as Octopath can look. What about you? A Ren.
I'm more or less on the same boat.
I mean, fair enough. Now, was there anything else you wanted to speak on in terms of Pokemon Black and White 3?
I I think we're getting close to the end. I think we're getting close to that point where there's not much else to do or talk about unless we were actually just straight up planning on making a black and
Mm-hmm.
would you introduce a battle gimmick like the most recent generations have?
I would just bring back Megas. I hate to break it to you. I would just bring back Mega Evolution. That is the best mechanic. Nothing else has even remotely come close. Yes, I understand that a lot of people were bummed out by Megas because boo-hoo, Garchomp got a Mega and Charizard got 2 and fucking Beware didn't get one. Whatever. Megas are an awesome idea that should have been expanded on over time. The fact that they weren't just compounded the issues that people already had with them. If we would have gotten more Megas in Sun and Moon, more Megas in Sword and Shield, more Megas in Scarvi, it would have helped alleviate a lot of those problems. You would have gotten an extra, 10, 15 Megas every game. And then by the time we get to 2023, you have, 100 different Mega evolutions to go through. So surely you'll find something you like, But that's my 2 cents. Obviously, you know. But what about you? Is there any mechanic that you would add?
maybe this is gonna sound really dumb. It's gonna sound really, really dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what are those? The this sounds so stupid, but if I had to introduce a new new battle game, black and white magatamas that make your Pokemon either neutrally effective and neutrally resistant to all types, or super effective and super affected by all types.
Okay.
So you could either become the glass cannon, I deal massive damage, I take massive damage, or you can be the stone wall of defense where
Yeah.
everything's neutral. You can take that black or you can take that white.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That that's not a bad idea at all. Now, where would Kyurem come into this? Ooh, I got one.
Oh,
For like a Kyurem stone effectively, it will steal your opponent's similar or like kind of harkening to like Kyurem's ability to effectively grab and steal you know, Reshiram or Zekrom. In this case, if someone activates one of those Magatamas, you can then activate yours and it effectively steals whatever effect it was. And then maybe deals like damage or something along those lines as well. Effectively fusing with that Magatama and giving it to your Pokemon instead. Ah, shit.
I'm gonna say
And if it fuses with both, it gets the yin and yang like super perk or something.
I'm I'm gonna say no.
No.
I'm gonna say it works like fucking it works like Mega Stone Parasol or whatever, where you can kind of only use it on one Pokemon in a battle, whether you're not, you have to actually equip it to the Pokemon or you just, activate it on your watch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The black or the white activates one or the other. If we have a Q-Rim one, you can only have one actively attached to your trainer, right?
Yeah.
So you can't like mid battle choose, oh, I want to use this one or I want to use this one. It's
Wait.
something that you have to do
Wait. I zonked out for a second. What do you mean?
like you can only have one effect. You can go into a battle with one of those effects in mind. You can't choose them on the fly.
Which one? For the Magatamas?
Yeah.
Okay.
A gray Magatama, the cure Magatama would neutralize the effect of the opponent. It would nullify it.
Fair enough.
So that way you can't. I feel like stealing.
Well, well, yeah. That was my original like thing was it would steal it. Sorry, it would nullify it for the opponent and then give that effect to
Oh,
you.
oh, no, I don't like that. I feel like that's a little scummy.
Fair enough.
I feel like that's a little bit scummy, especially in terms of balance, because then why aren't you just stealing your opponents? Why wouldn't everyone just run that?
Because what if your opponent's running another gray one? Then it effectively nullifies it for both people. I don't know. It just kind of feels like a fun way to counter it and then effectively render it a non-issue if just everyone's just running a gray one.
Fair enough.
So, like, worst case scenario, it does nothing for you because both players are running a gray. Best case scenario, it cancels out the opponents. But then, let's say you're running a white one that boosts your damage, but your opponent's, running the clear one, and then those also would cancel each other out.
Yeah, I like. Anything else? Do you have any other discussion points? Any other ideas?
Not really.
Do you think we've run this a little exhausted now?
A little bit. I'm a little tired.
Fair enough. I think with that, do you have any closing notes?
Game Freak, hire me. That's all I have to say. Or if any indie dev wants me as a writer, by all means. My business email is listed on my Twitter. Otherwise, contact me at this web zone, JadeNovanis, at Discord. Anywho, is that just about it for you as well?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to plug. I don't have any closing thoughts, I don't think. Game Freak, stop being cowards. Give us what we want. Give us a good game.
I mean, they did give us a good game. The problem is it just runs like dog shit. But I know what you mean.
Give us
Give us a game that runs at more than 10 frames a second consistently.
give us a game that actually provokes thought.
Which the black and white games did. At least a little bit, at the very least. But
Give us a game that's more than the minimum effort.
But yeah, that I think is going to be the end of our little podcast for tonight. Extra long episode, so we'll see. But thank you.
You best be thankful.
Exactly. You guys got 3.5 hours of us screeching about Pokemon. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for everyone who's here. Just so you guys are aware, for those of you on the free feeds, you guys do get new episodes, 2 weeks early and ad-free on the Patreon. $1 a month gets you in. Check us out. You guys also get to do questions now that we will answer either throughout the podcast or at the end. Those do go live every week starting now. So hopefully we might have a few questions, Patreon submitted questions, for next episode. Until next time, thank you guys yet again for being here. Thank you guys for just watching and being awesome as always. Thank you, Ren, for being here and being lovely as you always are.
Know you.
And I guess that means we're almost out of here then, right?
I would assume so.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Be sure to tune into next episode where we make fools of ourselves somehow, I'm sure.